Board meeting for January 25th, 2021. Welcome everyone here tonight. I know it was a pretty wintry day today with the fog and the mist and the cold rain, so we're glad you're here. If you're watching from home, we're glad you're on tonight. We do have a large agenda, so we're going to go through it. And first thing that we do, and when we have a regular town board meeting, is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm going to rise, and if you do, we will repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That was called to order, and we'll cross off number 1 and go to number 2, which is setting of the agenda. Paul, is there anything else on that?
No, sir, I have nothing to add.
I'll make a motion. We approve the agenda as written.
There's a motion. There was a motion. Is there a second?
I second at least Goodwin.
There is a second. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye, at least Goodwin.
Aye, Teresa Beavers.
Aye, Will Mullaney.
Aye, Brian Bowles.
Aye, Joe Danley.
Thank you. Motion carries. We'll close out number 2 and go to item number 3, consent agenda. All items listed below are considered routine or have been discussed at length in previous meetings and will be enacted by one motion. No separate discussion will be held except on request by a member of the Board of Commissioners. A, consider approval of minutes of regular board meeting on December 14th, 2020, and work session of January the 11th, 2021. B, consider acceptance of resignation from Jackie Cornell from the Downtown Aberdeen Advisory Board. And C, consider acceptance of resignation from Amanda Robbins from the Appearance and Beautification Commission. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda, the consent agenda.
And I second.
Okay, there was a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
There was like a typo I saw on something, but I can email Regina if that's okay.
That's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay. I'll see you in the morning. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Well, we gotta say one at a time. Sorry.
Yep.
Will Mullaney, aye.
Brian Bowles, aye.
Teresa Beavers, aye.
At least Goodwin, aye.
Joe Danley. Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We'll close out item number 3 and go to item number 4, informal discussion and public comment. Anyone?
Mayor, we had a room set aside for anybody who wanted to participate and for, public comment in general, and there were no attendees or persons wishing to speak in that capacity. I do have one person who's going to speak on one of the items that's actually on the agenda, and we'll let you know when that comes up.
Okay, thank you. With no other public discussion or comment, we'll go ahead and close out number 4 and go to item number 5, manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. And what I'll do on this report, because I know I usually give you the hard copy at the meeting, is I'll just email you this this document, and of course Regina will have it for the record to join as a reference for the meeting minutes or the record. So, Mayor, just in summary, on the finance report, Butch is going to be in attendance tonight. He's by Zoom, so hopefully that won't be a problem. And if he can't join us, I see a phone call participant, and that might be Butch. Butch, is that you?
That's me. I was on video and it knocked me off, so I called back in on phone.
Okay, sounds good. We can hear you fine. So, Mayor, after my manager's report, Butch will give the financial monthly statement and give you that summary. So that I'll work out, but all your financial monthly statements, they are in your agenda packet. So if he refers to those, you can flip through and find those. And also, I want to let you know, we are going to, separate from that, we are going to hear from our auditor at Dixon Hughes. Mr. John Frank he has joined us by Zoom. I saw him, listed. He's at the end. So he will join us by Zoom. And we did receive our audit, and we will get that. That's one of the first things on the agenda. We just got it late last week, so we were able to put it on the agenda for the audit presentation. And this is for fiscal year 1920. So I think you'll be happy with the results. And but I'll let Mr. Frank present that to you in just a few minutes. So again, you've got Butch, and then you've got the audit coming up after that. So lots of finances tonight. In other matters, you've got your standard monthly reports from the different departments in a similar format. So you've got those, or I will give you those, I should say. I'll send you that by email. It's the same format with just the monthly totals for you to take a look at. Just a few other quick items, Mayor. Some of this you've heard a little bit before, some of it you've not. I wanted to remind the board, and I think Ms. Laney, I hope she's gotten the contact. If not, Ms. Laney, let me know. But we do have a Tri-Cities meeting tomorrow at 12 noon by Zoom, of course. And have you gotten the information on that, Ms. Laney?
Yes, I have.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I know they sent it out a few days ago. So we're going to try the Tri-Cities. It's been, I don't know, Wilma, you may remember, it's been several months since we've had one as a group.
Yeah, at least 3, 4, at least, yeah.
And so, and Mayor, did you get your contact for that? If not, I can forward it to you also.
I did. I got one.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll look forward to having that meeting and get updates from the different towns and see how we're all doing. So again, look forward to that meeting. It's always good to speak to our nearby towns and get updates from them. Also, in the more general area, police station, again, moving along well. If you've had a chance or have driven by it since, say, middle of last week, you see a lot more indication of things coming out of the ground. That is steel beams primarily. It really made a lot of headway the last several days. So it really has taken on a whole new out of the ground construction look over the last week than it has in the several weeks and months leading up to this standpoint. So it's a big turning point for us. And we're happy to see it really take shape now. So that's, if you haven't had a chance, feel free to drive up into the parking lot at the fire station and take a look. That's an impressive sight at this point. And again, the grading is continuing at the Sports Plex facility. I know some have been out there a little bit, some have not been able to go just with other conflicts, but they've got, if not all, most of those large pieces of equipment that the contractor just recently acquired, the PAN vehicles. They've got at least 3 of those, if I'm not mistaken. Philip might be able to correct me on that. I think they've got one automated and one that is, or 2 of them that are pull behinds by another tractor. And those are going, I mean, every time I go out there, I watch them do, in a matter of, 10 or 15 minutes, they can do 3 or 4 laps around the area. So they're making serious progress now in moving that dirt. The sports facility, or I'm sorry, the retention ponds are really deep, and they're close to having those completed. I don't know exactly how much longer. Philip might be able to wait on that also, but they're getting pretty close on that. But they're deep, and significantly more activity even on the ponds in the last 10 days. Is that right, Philip?
That is correct.
Any idea on the pond schedule?
They say they're on schedule. Hopefully the retention ponds and sediment ponds will be finished within the next week or 2, and then the other grading for the actual where the fields will start next.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's good to hear. So it's good to see that that moving forward. There's something I know you'll be very happy to see if you haven't already, but the additional or last 2 street lights on South Street, those were installed the end of last week, and I don't know if they actually were connected tonight. I haven't been out there, but Harold, if you know that, do you know if they actually were connected today?
Hey, Falls Harold. Now, I know they were connecting them, but by the time I had left, I didn't see if they were on. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I may head by there on my way home and see if I can't see them lit up. So, but anyway, Mayor, you know, that was a big part of getting this project completed with that. So it's nice to see that progress there. Let's see. Mayor, I believe that's all I have. I'm sure there'll be some other things that come up unless there's any questions. But we're in good shape and making a lot of progress on all the projects we're working on, and you know, look forward just to keep things moving.
Thank you. Any questions for the manager on his report? No questions? Okay, we'll close out 5 and go to item number 6, which is the financial report from Butch Watson.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Hope everybody can hear me okay, since I'm remote and on the phone.
You're good.
Okay, I can hear.
Good. Well, I'll start real quick. I put it in a format I've been doing with a overall summary memo, as well as the financial analysis, and then a backup on that with our current cash and deposits as of the end of December. Then the more detail of the revenues and expenditures year to date through December. And I won't go over that. That's too many pages, but I want to hit some highlights very quickly on the memo piece of it. On the general fund, and you can see what the budget is. That's a little over $9.6 million. Year to date on the revenues through December, we're a little over 6.6 million. The expenditure side of that, we were at 4.5 million range. So we're a net income through December of $2,133,000. And so if you look at the percentage for the collected or expenses, the difference in those two is a little more than 22%, as I call it in the banking industry, the spread. And that's very good in December. But I've got some more highlights on that for detail below the chart on there. And I'm going to come back to the real and personal property tax last for the general fund. So we start with the COVID revenues. And again, that's the money that came from the state, or came from the federal government, the $134,000. We've got all that in hand. We've had that for a few months, and we'll begin to spend some of that money now on some of the projects finally. And you'll see that in the next monthly and the quarterly reports I do. The garbage fee revenues were at 62.16% of budget. And again, that is through December. So basically 50% of the year is gone. So we're ahead of schedule there. And then if you look at, and some of these, I had the benefit of getting the numbers for January before I did my memo. You wouldn't have to back up to that, but through the period when I did my memo, we're at 84.18% of budget for collections on the garbage fee revenues. The building permit revenues at the end of December are at 71.22%. And at present, again, through part of January, we're at 77.05%. The ABC net revenues, we were at 40.52%. And that was through December. And then through the last week when I did this memo, we're at 81.44% of budget. The sales tax revenue, we were at 47.34%, and that's through 4 months, the way it's delayed from the state. And that's through December. We did receive the payment last week from sales tax, week before last, I'm sorry. And through 5 months of that period, that we're at 58.01%. And so again, we're into January and we've already got 5 months. So at the end of June, we will have 2 more months that we will receive. For the utility franchise tax, we're at 51.88% through to December, and that's half the year. And I can't remember if we get 2 payments for that or 4, but we're right on target, a little above budget. And then on the power bill revenue, we received all of that for the year. We received that like in November, And then also, we got it right into December instead of January this year. But we've received 98.49% of budget. And that was, I was telling Paul last week or so, after the board adopted the budget last year, the legislature went back and adjusted the formula slightly on the dollars to be paid out for all the power bill monies across the state. So that's why you will see this off just a slight percentage. Now, I do want to go back to the top line of the highlights for the real and personal property tax. Through December, on a percentage basis, we had collected 83.63%. That's about 3.7 million versus a budget of 4,430,000. So I did some numbers. The numbers came in last Friday for the January payment, and we're now up to, and I'm going on memory, right? I think there's $569,000 came in last Friday just for that one line item. So if you look at it that way, we're now at 96.48% of budget on the real and personal property tax line item collection. That's the largest line item in any of the budgets that we have. So I looked at some of the numbers we had last year for the same time period through the end of January, and we'd only collected 90.80%. So we're ahead of collections and ahead of percentage. And that's about a little over $220,000 more dollars, real dollars compared to real dollars from one year to another. So I do want to make that highlight on the general fund. Any questions on the general fund?
Any questions? That's a great report, Butch. Great report.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me hit a little bit of the water and sewer. The highlights on that, the system development fees, we're at 117.64% through the end of December. Through part of January, we'd already received the paper when I did the memo. We were 123.80%, and that's a combined number of both the water system development fee and the sewer system development fee. The water and sewer revenues, both the water and sewer again, we're at 56.42% of budget at the end of December, and through part of January, since we'd already sent the bills out for January. And as a reminder to the board members, we bill on a bi-monthly basis. We're at 71.49% of budget for that. So we are ahead of where we are budgeted for the year. The water and sewer tap revenue is at 97.67% due December, and through about the third week in January, we're at 102.47%. And then the bulk water for the sales to Moore County, 71.35% through December, and currently we're at 84.33% that we received some money in January. So that's a few highlights on those items. If you hold on just a second, guys, my lights went off in my car. Just a second. Okay, I can see again. Okay. Any questions on the water and sewer fund?
Any questions?
Okay. Any questions? And very quickly on the second page, on the police station renovation project, as a reminder, we've spent a little over $900,000. We've also received a little over $900,000 from First Bank. So again, I try to keep that once we cut checks or get money, well, that money comes and goes within a few days. So to keep that pretty equal at all times. So we have spent at the end of December about 15.82% and received the same thing. I think we've had one draw in January, and I think it makes it somewhere 20% or 20.03% in that range right now as we speak. And so that's where we stand on that at the present time. Then on the Sportsplex project, we received a $1,000 check with someone back early in the project, and we spent through the end of December a little over $5,100. So we'll eventually, be looking to probably look at some money from the general fund as planned in the project ordinance, but that will come later. So the total for all the major operating funds we're at 9,813,000 in revenues and 7,222,000 expenses. So about 2.590 million ahead of net income to the positive. And if you know other questions, I'll flip on over to the deposits and so forth. And you can look on your summary sheet, or you can look on the 11x17 that I have prepared. But basically, you can see the deposits for BB&T. We're at BB&T about $504,000 at the end of December, compared to $316,000 last year, and that's in just a normal checking accounts. Certificates of deposits were $843,000, about the same number for last year. That's where we received the interest, the monthly, quarterly on those. That's why that number doesn't change. On the first bank, end of December of this year, we have a small leftover checking account. We've been in process for many years. It's $1,209.06. Then certificates of deposits, both in the case of that one, we received a little bit of deposit money on that one, but that both about $710,014 compared to $117,112. So summary of all those, and plus the capital management trust of between $8,021,000 compared to last year, $5,994,000 in our petty cash. We're at the difference through December. We're ahead of $2,215,000 more dollars in the bank compared to last year.
Wow,
That's good.
that's great. That's fantastic.
That is good.
Yeah, I just wish we could earn more interest, but that's the state of the economy, and so if I'm borrowing money at low interest rates, I'm getting interest income on low interest. I can't have it all. So
That's right.
So that is my summary of my report. Sorry, I did log in. I was on and it knocked me off. I was on about 5 seconds and it went away. So I thought I better call in.
Great job, Butch.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Butch.
Any other questions?
You're welcome.
I just continue to see his choice of green as the color, and so I'm always going to assume that is outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember your comment, Councilman Danley. I recall that.
And I'm gonna keep looking, and as long as it's green, man, life is good for the town of Aberdeen.
That's right.
Thank
Blue
you.
That's
and
right.
green.
Thank you.
Any other? If not, I'll close out item number 6. And we go to item number 7, which is public hearings and new business. The first one is a presentation of final fiscal year 1920 audit by Dixon Hughes Goodman, John Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. Appreciate you allowing us to join you this evening to discuss the fiscal 2020 audit. Also with me is Veronica Butler, who was the audit manager on engagement this year. So we're here to briefly discuss the audit and answer any questions that you might have about the audit report. Each of you should have received 3 items related to the audit. Prior to tonight's meeting, you should have received the audited financial statements, the report to the board, and you also should have received a 2-page sort of executive summary of the financial results for fiscal 20 compared to fiscal 2019. But as a result of our audit, we issued an unmodified or clean audit report on the town's financial statements. We didn't identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls either. So overall, very clean audit report. I'd like to focus on the 2-page summary. Like I said, this is comparison of fiscal 2020 results compared to 2019. And overall, the town had positive financial results this year. Just to review some of the more significant fluctuations with you. If you can read the summary, if you have access to it.
All right, Mr. Frank,
Sure.
hold on just a second.
Yeah,
I just
glad
want to
to.
correct the board. Board members, the two-page summary that Mr. Frank's referring to, that's what I emailed to you this afternoon. So you may have to pull that up by a separate, by your email, and it should be.
Right.
I just want to make sure everybody knows where it is. It wasn't in your packet, but it's that email. Just so you know, it's a quick summary that Mr. Frank put together for us.
Okay.
Understood.
Okay, does everybody have that in front of them?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so are you good for me to focus on that summary?
Okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you. As I was saying, under Roman numeral 1, here we've shown cash and investment balances at the end of fiscal 20 compared to fiscal 19. You can see that cash balances are up by about $904,000 this year, which is primarily the result of positive operating results in both the general fund and good cash flows in the water sewer fund. Just moving down the page under Roman numeral 2, we've shown general fund, unassigned fund balance into fiscal 20 and fiscal 19. Unassigned fund balance is up by $711,000 this year, which is a good increase year over year. Then in Roman numeral 3, we've shown a summary of general fund revenues by category for the 2 fiscal years. You see under property taxes, which are that's the largest source of general fund revenues, they were up $636,000 for the year. This is a result of the tax rate increasing from 47 to 49 cents per hundred. And also the valuation of property increased this year by about 12%. And the collection rate remains strong at over 99%. The category of other taxes and licenses, this was up $62,000 from the prior year. Most of this increase was due to increases in the fire district tax. Unrestricted intergovernmental revenues were up $312,000 this year, primarily the result of an uptick in local option sales tax collections for the fiscal year. Restricted intergovernmental revenues, this category includes primarily your grant revenues, which can be a little volatile from year to year. Those were down $353,000 this year. In 2019, they were up because the town received about $600,000 in FEMA assistance, and there wasn't any comparable federal or state grants in fiscal 2020. So that explains why that line item is down. Sales and services were up $165,000 this year, and this is due to an increase in solid waste and recycling fees during the year. So overall, general fund revenues were up 5.1% in fiscal 2020. Then if you'll continue down on this summary under Roman numeral 4, we've shown general fund expenditures by category. Overall, expenditures were up 4.4%. The category that showed the largest decline was transportation, which was down by $259,000, which was a result of lower capital spending in the streets department in fiscal 2020. Environmental protection, this category showed a increase of $218,000 during the year, which is primarily due to increased capital outlay expenditures, including the Aberdeen Lake project. Cultural and recreation expenditures were up $277,000 for the year, primarily due to increased spending on fixed assets in the Parks and Recreation Department, including the purchase of land for the sports complex. Then under Roman numeral 5, we've shown other financing sources and uses. The largest item here are the proceeds from issuance of debt of $349,000, which relates to debt issued for the purchase of police vehicles in a sanitation truck.
Mm-hmm.
Then under Roman numeral 6, this shows that the net result for the year was an increase in fund balance of $792,000, which is pretty comparable to the 2019 increase in fund balance. Then under Roman numeral 7, we've shown the percentage of unassigned fund balance to expenditures for the year. That amounts to 33%, which is up from last year. State suggests that you maintain at least 8% in unassigned fund balance, so you're well above this state minimum. Then on page 2, we've shown a summary of the water sewer fund operations. You can see starting at the top that revenues were up over 30% in the water sewer fund for fiscal 2020. This was a result of increased water sewer fees, as well as an increase in the number of customers. There was also an increase in system development fees, which replaced fees which had previously been charged to developers at the inception of projects. Total water sewer expenses were up 16%. Under this category of expenses, water sewer operations expenses are up $269,000. This is due largely to the development of a new well during fiscal 2020, which required additional testing. And there were also increases in lab testing costs this year. Depreciation, which is a non-cash charge, is up $175,000 this year. And that's primarily due to a large number of water sewer fund fixed assets were put in service near the end of fiscal 2019, for which there was a full year depreciation in fiscal 20. Moving down the page, there's a line for capital contributions and distributions. In fiscal 2019, there was a transfer of $161,000 from the water sewer fund to the well replacement capital project fund. And in fiscal 2020, this transfer was reimbursed to the water sewer fund in the form of a water sewer grant that was received by the town. So the net result in the water sewer fund was a increase of $629,000 in net position. The other item you should have received was a separate report to the Board of Commissioners. This report summarizes items that were required to report to this board in conjunction with the audit. And we state here that there were no significant audit findings. We did not encounter any difficulties performing the audit. There were no material unanticipated adjustments to the town's books and records. And we did make a couple of recommendations regarding how internal controls could be improved by better segregation of duties. But as I said earlier, we did not have any items that rose to the level of a material weakness or significant deficiency. So overall, good financial results for the town. Audit went very smoothly, and we appreciate all the assistance and the fine job that was done by Butch and Paul this year. So be glad to answer any questions you might have about the audit or about that financial summary that we went through.
Comments, questions?
One of the questions, this is Commissioner Beavers. One of the comments that you mentioned was that in recording practices, to have someone maybe be like a second set of eyes with certain recording features. Could you explain that a little bit more for me? I didn't quite get enough information from the document to understand what you meant by that.
Yeah, I think that they were just commenting that to enhance controls, that there could be a second level of review on items like bank reconciliations or disbursements, just anything that could enhance internal controls. And Veronica, I don't know if you expand specifically on some examples of what could be done there to improve internal controls with better segregation.
Right. So our audit period covered the period from July 1st, 2019 through June 30, 2020. So some of our comments kind of more so relate to that period at the beginning of the fiscal year where Beth was still the finance director. And then when Beth left and we were still waiting for Butch to be hired and to take her place. So based on my conversations with Butch now, it does seem like he has gone through the department, tried to find ways to make sure that different people are preparing journal entries. He's reviewing the journal entries, and he seems to be communicating with y'all really well about the financial operations of the town. So I definitely think that has improved, at the end of fiscal 20, and we'll reassess fiscal 2021 to see, how are those procedures in place for the full fiscal year, and if anybody else needs to be involved in that process. But I will say some of our comments are just kind of related to the fact that for a period of 3 months, there wasn't a finance director, and just making sure that, y'all are, looking at the financial things, and just making sure everything is up to snuff.
Okay. Thank you, Veronica.
Yeah, and to maybe expand on it, I went back and looked at that specific comment, needed to refresh my memory, but it refers specifically to review of journal entries.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Typically made by the finance officer. So really, I think there's, as Veronica mentioned, probably have been some enhancements to the processes, since the end of the fiscal year. But what we're really suggesting is that, Paul or another member of the management team periodically review and approve of those journal entries that are made to the books and records of the town. So really, we're just suggesting that somebody periodically conduct a review of those entries. So that's like I said, that wasn't something that was considered to be a material weakness. It's just a way that we think controls could be improved.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Danley. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken as well, I think there had been recommendations in past years, even from last audit, on kind of some checks and balances. We had that one deep financial director and then the financial accountant. So I think, Commissioner Beavers, what you're going to find when the audit's completed next year is that the town, I believe, has strengthened that and put in those controls, those checks and balances, specifically on journal entries, to ensure that, somebody's, looking at the hen house. And I think that's just good business. In small towns, I think it's real easy, certainly as we grow quickly, to not evolve financially and ensure that as those financial transactions become more and more complex, more expediently across multiple lanes of expenditures, I think you can easily find yourself, not able to do that as well as we want. And I think this year, Paul has put a process in place with Butch to make sure that next year's report, I think, will significantly address some of those things that have occurred this fiscal year that will pretty much remedy, from a board member's perspective, the fact that we have folks really working together and checking each other's work. Over.
Yes, sir. And I would also add, I think you'll see, and I think, John and Veronica can verify this, that, when you're a certain size town, it's more difficult just with the number of employees you have to have all what you might consider the highest level perfect checks and balances in place. We've had comments like this in the past, and, instead of just hiring another person, which we think we can get the work done, but, so we don't know that we have the volume of work to do it, but it would certainly help that check and balance side of things. So you've got kind of a balancing act there. And, certainly if there's anything we can do in terms with our present level of staff, if there's a specific program, whether I, in addition to what I already do, but on the checking of the ledger, can do some other, prescribed checks and balances. Of course, I'm more than happy to do that. But I think you'll see this is something that's kind of there for a lot of towns that are in our size or smaller. And it's just something that towns have to kind of deal with and check. You know, we have a pretty good system where we kind of check each other between the finance department, the manager's department, and the clerk's office. And that seems to work pretty well for us.
Anyone else? Aberdeen's always been very proud of our audits, and I think this goes with this year. We did have a time this last year when we didn't have a finance director. So I think all in all, this turned out well.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Any others? Anyone else while we have Mr. Frank on?
No, we've just been very pleased with Butch. He's done a really credible job of his insight in the business sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can see the how things are working now. He's been on board long enough now for us to see the results of his efforts. So this is great. So thank all of you that had a part in this. Thank Dixon Hughes for Goodman for doing this, and we appreciate it. Any others? If not, we'll close that one out. Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John and Veronica.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to go to B, which is Historic Preservation Commission appointments for 2 regular members. Is that Mr. Westbrook?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is the Historic Preservation Commission, which is the deciding factor for major COA, certificate of appropriatenesses. They've been lacking members for some time now. The biggest issue with COAs is if the COA is not approved by that board, then staff cannot issue a building permit. They've done as best they can, and with COVID, fortunately, we've lucked out on a lot of different things, but that's a 5+2 board, which means it's 5 positions or posts and 2 alternates. And they've been working with about 3 members so far this entire time, which means all 3 of them have to show up, which can be a challenge in itself. So with that being said, staff is requested for several months now that there's these posts get filled. Staff had 6 positions or 6 applicants for this position. One of these applicants at this time, we found out today, actually does not live in the town of Aberdeen, Mary Meyer. However, the other 5 staff has spoke with at length. As I believe the town manager mentioned earlier, the 5 members were presented to y'all. I don't believe any of these new, except for possibly Harriet Sloan. But staff is looking for these 4 positions to be filled at some point at y'all's discretion. The only thing that I request, there are 2 regular posts, and this agenda item is just for the regular posts, that because they have different expiration dates, that when you make your motion, you say for what number post it is. It's always recommended by staff that the person that you feel more confident about, should you request to or make a motion to appoint them, should go on the longer term. But that's just our recommendation and typically how we do things. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
So this would be for 2 regular members.
That's correct.
Okay. And everyone has the list.
Mm-hmm.
And for those, the next page after my staff report, the posts are highlighted in yellow. The number on the left is the post number, and the far right of expires is when that term expires. So post number 1, no matter what we do tonight or next month or whenever, that post will expire January of 2022, while post 5 will expire January 2025. This board's a little unique, as I mentioned in the staff report, that they are 4-year terms, where every other board and commission that my department runs is 2-year terms. And we stagger them that way so the majority of the board doesn't come off at any given time.
I'd like to make a motion if there's no more discussion.
Yes, sir.
This is Commissioner Bowles. I'd like to make a motion that Thomas Blue take post 1 and Harriet Salon take post 5.
And this is, I'd like to second that, please.
All right, there was a motion and a second. Further discussion? Anyone have any others they would like to?
Hey, Brian, I'd just like to know what stood out in the applicants' qualifications for the position, which really kind of locked you into making those two nominations.
Well, it's, Ms. Salone, her involvement in the town, I felt that she would need the longer post so that she could be more effective with the town. And then Mr. Blue for post 1, which just a couple of years, just his engineering background may bring us a unique outlook and more of let's follow the rules. I've been to a couple of these meetings where sometimes they can get off track and kind of make their own judgment calls. And I think this gentleman may bring them back in and reel them in a little bit and hold them more accountable to the actual rules and regulations that have set forth by this board and other commissions by the town.
Thank you.
Very good. Any others? There was a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor, if you'll tell me who you're voting. Who's voting first?
Elise Goodwin, yes.
Wilma Laney, yes.
Teresa Beavers, yes.
Brian Bowles, yes.
And Joe Danley, yes.
Thank you. That carries. And Justin, you will let them know.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. All right, that will be, and we'll go to C, and that's Historic Preservation Commission appointment for 2 alternate members.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Alternate members, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Letty, is it pronounced Wisnowski, and Lauren Norman for alternate positions
Which post?
for the Historical Preservation Board, 2 alternate members.
Yes, ma'am, but the posts have different expirations, so your motion needs to say which post number. A1
One
or
is for A1 vacant and A2.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
But-
Which applicant would you like to go with which post?
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that had to be, okay, I would like to put Letty Kisnowski in A1, the first post. But they're both 2 years, is that what you're saying, Justin?
No, ma'am, they're all 4 years for HPC.
Okay. So the term is the same for both of them, they're just in different.
No.
They're-
A1 is from January 2020 to January 2022, and
Okay.
A2 is from January 21 to
All right.
January 2025.
Well, then let me change my vote then. The first position, A1, I would like to recommend Letty Snowski for A1 and Lauren Norman. Is that what I said?
Mhm.
For position A2. And they both live in historic homes, is the reason why I chose them.
All right, there was a motion. Is there a second on that?
I second.
There is a second. Discussion. Any discussions on this? Hearing none. All in favor? Go down to votes.
Elise Goodwin, yes.
Wilma Laney votes aye.
Beavers, yes.
Commissioner Bowles, yes.
Commissioner Danley, yes.
Thank you. This is always difficult sometimes to get volunteers. People have a lot of things they're doing, and we appreciate people that do volunteer. Volunteers make everything what it is. And so anytime you know any of these, or if you run across any of them, please thank them for being volunteers. We We need them. We can't run the town without the volunteers. So thank you so much. And Justin, please tell them we all appreciate all those that apply.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'll close out D and go to E. Proposed deed of correction between the town of Aberdeen and Echo relocation. I'm sorry. Were you-
Beautification.
Okay, no, yeah, that's right. We've got to do the appearance of beautification. I'm sorry. Got to hit them with that. This is for 3 regular members.
No, sir. It is for, yes, I'm sorry, you're correct. Same situation with the ABC. They're a 7-person board. They do not have alternates. We have 3 positions open. We have 3 applications forward. We spoke with Nicholas Williams and Chelsea Vandiver today. Staff typically likes to wait till you have more applications in front of you. 2 of these 3 applications were not in front of you. As the town manager mentioned, the last time this came before y'all, and staff did talk to them. It's always our recommendation that you have a pool to select from. The only reason why this is in front of you tonight is because the chairwoman of the ABC requested that these seats get filled quickly because they have a lot of good work to do, and they do an amazing job as Commissioner Beavers and Commissioner Goodwin is on that board as well. But it's the 3 applicants in front of you tonight for 3 vacant spots. Again, if you could, please note which post, if you make a motion, which post goes with the person you're nominating.
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone a vote on the ABC board until we have a larger pool, so it's not 3 for 3.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
Why are you postponing the vote?
Because we have 3 slots open and only 3 applicants. And like Justin said, we like to see a bigger pool to choose from.
Right.
So it's
We've
not
been having-
Go
But
ahead.
as a member of that board, we've been having problems getting people to serve on that. We've got one now that has just resigned, Amanda Robinson. So, I'm
Ms. Beavers, Commissioner Beavers, if I may, in talking with one of the applicants today, when we spoke with them and explained what time and day this meeting occurred, she had reservations about whether she could attend anyways. So to Commissioner Bowles' point, I don't know that we would get all 3.
okay. Well, I'll leave it up to you, Justin. If you feel like we Commissioner Bowles wants to wait, I'm fine. If you feel like
We've been told that there's other interest out there from some others in the community that just haven't got their application in. Again, we want to do this favor for Ms. Chairwoman Peel to see, again, and I believe Commissioner Danley's point earlier in the year, 2 of these people y'all have never seen before. This is the first time y'all have seen their resumes. So again, it's our recommendation that we try to get you a bigger pool. We do understand that there's trouble in meeting the quota or the quorum for that, but we feel it's a little premature at this point.
Can we hold this over till our work session?
Absolutely, sir.
And we can all try to recruit some
Sure.
people. Give us a chance.
I have been actively, so I'll continue to do so too.
I would all, as Commissioner Danley, I'd also say that if we get to next month and the one did indeed have a conflict, but we still have 2 candidates that this board feels is qualified to step in and engage on the Appearance and Beautification Commission, I'd certainly like to support the chair, Ms. Peel, in getting at least a couple more members out there for perspective, because I think that's important, certainly as we get into the busy spring months of getting out there and looking at what's out there. It might not be the perfect solution, but it's one that I think we probably ought to consider heavily the next time Justin and his team bring this forward for the board's consideration. Over.
I have just one question, because I've tried to recruit as well. Is there a process that we can change the time of the meeting? It's one meeting that occurs at 12 noon. And for some people, that's not a good time for them to meet if they work, such as myself. I have to take off and I certainly don't mind. But I've talked with some other people in my neighborhood, and that's just not a good time for them to take off during the middle of the day.
Staff generally leaves that decision up to the individual boards.
Yeah.
We've traditionally kept the dates and the times the same, but as far as I'm aware, the individual boards have, it's left up to them to choose. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, ABC last week adopted their meeting schedule for the next year. I don't see why they couldn't change it with proper notifications and making sure we do it in a quick enough time frame.
True.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Justin.
Yes, sir.
That would be something internal that the Beautification Commission could discuss
All right. Well,
and make it where it's, where more people can attend.
true. That makes sense.
Yeah, so that if y'all come up with a different time and, whatever day it might be.
Okay. I was just saying it would help me to recruit more people and maybe some of the other commissioners if we would change it to an evening meeting.
Sure.
Yes,
So-
sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're just going to let that one go till further notice. Item D.
There's a motion and a
There was
second
a
on the
motion
floor.
and a second, that's right. And the motion and second was to,
Postpone it till,
all right,
I'll amend that motion to postpone it to our work session in 2 weeks.
thank you. Any other discussion?
And I second it. Elise Goodwin seconded.
We had seconded. Okay, thank you. All right, let's hear the vote.
Elise Goodwin, Commissioner, yes.
Will
Commissioner
Maloney,
Bowles, aye.
Commissioner Beavers, aye.
Joe Danley, yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, that does close out D, and we'll go to E. Proposed deed of correction between the town of Aberdeen and Echo Relocation LLC requested by Mike Rakowski, and consider approval of resolution number 21-01 approving the exchange of property along Kaiser Street and Glasgow Street in the town of Aberdeen.
We need a motion now, or we have discussion from the planning?
No,
This is, as you mentioned, is a deed correction. Long story short, there are 3 sections along Kaiser and Glasgow Street that during a title search for a proposed new subdivision, staff and the surveyor and the lawyers were unsure of who owned what. After some research, we found out that the property lines and the right-of-way lines were not matching up. So as requested by Mike Rakowski of Echo Relocation and vetted by TC Morphus, the town attorney, staff and at the Bro Law Firm's lead has created a deed of correction. In the staff report, you will notice in the Exhibit A, there are 2 small parcel A's and parcel B's, or I'm sorry, parcel A's and parcel C that Echo Relocation will deed to the town for right-of-way. Whereas parcel B will be Aberdeen to Echo Relocation. And so it's basically, for lack of a better phrase, a exchange of land. That's all I have. At this point, I'm open for questions. I do know Mr. Rakowski, the applicant, is here in the rotunda to answer any questions that y'all may have of him.
This probably goes back many, many years when this took place, because I think, was it Kaiser that was originally 15501 coming into Aberdeen? I believe that's right. Is Glasgow, is that the one that goes up by the school? Or is that Kaiser?
Eventually, if I'm not mistaken, it goes down and crosses 211 and then cuts across into Berkeley, I believe, in the Berkeley neighborhood.
Yeah, what the road that comes off at the top of the hill off of 15501 where Bernie Hardware is, that was originally 15501.
Yeah.
And it came down and made a T to the T intersection at the bottom of the hill, and then it turned left and went into downtown Aberdeen. And that's where all that, probably those lines got out of whack back in those days when they put that highway through. That's just my speculation. Any further discussion on this? Anyone else? All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the proposed deed of correction between the town of Aberdeen and Echo relocation.
There's a motion.
Commissioner Bowles, a second.
There is a second. Further discussion from the board. Hearing none, well, let's go through the votes.
Elise Goodwin, Commissioner, yes.
Paul Mulaney votes aye.
Commissioner Bowles, aye.
Teresa Beavers, yes.
Commissioner Danley, yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. We'll close out item E and go to item F, update on discussion relating to occupancy tax increase. And there was supposed to have been a meeting, what was it, this week, last week, Paul, that the county commissioners canceled.
Right. It's gonna be tomorrow.
Unmute.
Paul, unmute
Paul is
your
muted.
thing, Paul.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think it was scheduled for Thursday, the 27th,
Mhm.
with the county at their work session. So Mayor,
Go ahead.
nothing really new on this. As you mentioned, they have held off, and as I understand, they held off on that meeting just because of the rampant COVID infections, and they didn't want to really endanger anybody. And they're still looking for, if they can do it, an in-person conversation to get some input from the various municipalities. So really nothing new on that. I'm not sure, but I think this might come up during the Tri-Cities meeting tomorrow. We might be able to have a discussion, which I think might be helpful for all the towns that attend at tomorrow's meeting. So that will be maybe a good conversation. I have been able to speak with the two managers, from Southern Pines and Pinehurst. And so, and hopefully I can talk in a little bit more detail tomorrow with them individually. So I don't know if the board's had any more time to digest what we talked about 2 weeks ago. At the end of the day, we can either do a letter or resolution, something a little bit more specific on paper, which I'd be happy to put together. But we probably have a few more weeks to think about it. And if you think you're okay with the general kind of mixed program of allocation of the new funds, should it be approved, I can try to put together, a draft letter of some sort for our work session in early February, and also might get some input and some more information from the different towns tomorrow at the Tri-Cities meeting.
This has been batted around for a while now. I would be anxious to hear what the other two town managers may have to say on this item. I would feel that most of the towns need to be on the same page if we're going to get any traction with the county commissioners. So let's find out what they have to say possibly tomorrow. And I like what you've put together for us to look at. And there are options to get this done. And so we just need to decide after we find out maybe what some of the other communities are going to say about it, then pick one and go with it. I think we need to be pretty much together if we're going to make talk to the county commissioners.
No, I agree. And we might be able to have some general categories similar to what I set forth in the memo. And maybe we don't have all the detail in each category and leave that open for further discussion. So if we try to put something together in the next couple of weeks after we get the input from the other towns, like that one area of should we use the number of rooms, just a raw number of rooms versus the number or the amount of revenue that the rooms produce, because there's different outcomes at the end of the day. I could see Pinehurst leaning more toward the gross revenue produced by the rooms within its jurisdiction as a guiding light, because that would benefit them more as opposed to just a raw number of rooms. I think that would be the analysis, but I think you're aware, we don't have direct access to the actual revenue produced. And that's been hard to get a hold of. We can do estimates, but that's the best we could put together. That information, as I understand it, is held by the CVB
It is.
board, and they don't really share that. They may not be able to, but they don't share that just freely with other towns. So we don't have that information. But if that's as far as we could go, we could, at the appropriate time, just do the general categories to at least set the foundation of how that money can be divided up. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're happy if it's follows that general format. We'd be pretty happy with any of the results that come from there, you know, upon further discussion.
So we'll find out, hopefully it'll be brought up tomorrow at the Tri-Cities, and we'll just see how it goes from there. And you're going to continue with your discussions, Paul?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else have any ideas on this?
No, but I would like to say that I have really liked Paul Saverson's thoughts on it, what he called a mixed formula. I think when you give every one of the towns something, even if it's not as great as the other one, it would more likely pass because you're giving something to everyone. I don't think it's really fair to a community to take just because it happens to fall in one district to get more from it than anyone else. But if at least something is given to the lesser places, at least we have a, you know, reason to hope this passes, whatever does come out of it.
If it were to go to 6 cents or 6%, it's $1.7 million. That's a lot of money.
It
And
is.
that's per year if things continue like that. And of course, if the economy changes, that money could be higher than that. You know, if the economy bounces back and there's more tourism and more people coming to the county, that 1.7 may be just the baseline. It could go higher than that. So there's, I think, what is it, Paul? There are 11 municipalities in Moore County. Isn't that right? I think
that's right.
And so of those 11, a number of them have no rooms, hotel rooms. So in order to make this, like you're saying, to make it equitable, there may be a way to let some of the towns that have no hotel rooms get something out of this so they can use it for their tourism.
Exactly.
And this is what it's all about. It's about tourism. I know some time ago when we were still meeting before COVID, there was a discussion. Paul, I think you remember, I don't know who else was there that afternoon. We were at the fire station in Aberdeen. We had a Tri-Cities meeting, and there was some discussion about using that money for covering town costs. And I don't think that went anywhere. Do you remember that, Paul?
Oh, absolutely. There were some, I mean, I understand the.
Uh-oh. You got frozen, Paul. Did we lose? We may have lost Paul.
He just said he might as well say good night.
What that discussion was, Wilma, were you there that time we were discussing it?
I believe so. That's, you know, I mentioned it at our last meeting that I think we had the CVB was there.
Yes.
And at that time, you know, it seems like they wasn't clear. It wasn't clear as to where, you know, if it's grants, or they did not say what the money was used for. And my comment at that time was maybe we could have them come back and do the presentation so they can tell us, you know, how it's been done, and if possible, you know, we could you could involve more towns in the process. But I think they do need to come back and talk to us and make it clear as to what they're doing.
Exactly. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm sorry. My computer just lost its charge, so I didn't just disappear or anything. But I just walked over to the next office. Yeah, so sorry to disappear like that, but I just wanted to just finish, you know, that, I think we can come up with with a good plan in the discussion about the different uses for it. I agree. I don't think the just justifying it with a police and fire kind of follow went very far. But I'm not sure we have to do that anyway.
I don't think
I
so.
understand where that's coming from as an academic point. But we don't want to fight the state law. We don't want to get our fair share and follow kind of the established principles that the state of North Carolina has set up to use for those tourism funds, which is essentially building tourist facilities and advertising. Those are the two kind of unchallenged uses for those funds.
Yeah, and right before you were lost just then, for those that weren't at that meeting, there was some discussion from one or two of the towns that were at that meeting, the Tri-Cities, that were their contention at that point in time was, we have the hotels, we have the motels, and we have to police them, and the fire department has to check them and that sort of thing. Could we use some of that money to offset those revenues, those expenditures, taking care of the properties, policing and fire? I don't think that's anywhere we need to go with that, because I don't think that's going to fly. That's not part of what the CVB is for. And so I guess we need to kind of steer away from that sort of approach.
And I agree with that.
Even though I understood what they were saying, I understood what the other towns were saying. I got the gist of what they were trying to point out with that money. If we could get the money, it would go to, offsetting some of our expenditures for the big properties they had. But I don't think it's going to go, because that CVB has a charter. And if you could get to see what the charter says, it's specific about what they can do with the money. They can't just decide, well, this year we'll give money for something else. So let's see what we find out maybe tomorrow. And Paul, you can keep up with your discussions, and we'll just meet back on this. You haven't heard anything about the county commissioners meeting again, have you, Paul?
No, sir, nothing yet.
It'll probably be a while. I doubt they'll meet anytime soon. This is the end of January, so they may try to meet again in February on this, but we're going to have to get past some more of this COVID, and hopefully more people get vaccinated before they probably will take a chance on having a big meeting.
That's right.
Okay. Any other discussion on this one? Any others from the board? All right. If not, I'll close out F and go to 8, which is other business. Does anyone have any other business? Anyone? Just be sure that you stay safe, folks. This COVID is still out there, and you don't know where you might pick it up or when you might pick it up. Hopefully, if you're in line to get the vaccinations, please think about that. I believe, this is a big discussion out there. If enough people get vaccinated, maybe this thing will go away. But in the meantime, it is still out, and we don't want any other people that we know. We've had a number in the town hall and a number of employees that have come down with it. So by all means, stay safe. Any other comments?
I have a question, Commissioner Beavers. Have we come up with an alternate date for our strategic planning that we had to cancel? Or are we still kind of on hold with that?
We're on hold for right now, and I'm probably going to consult with Commissioner Danley about the next best date. I think part of it is making sure everybody's healthy, and I think we're getting closer to that now, and just picking a good date. So I don't think it'll be too much later. We could do it in February, I think. So, but we'll give you plenty of notice, because I know, if you have to get off work and that kind of thing, we'll try to give you plenty of ample notice so you can make that easily.
Oh, sure, that's good. I just didn't know if we had, come up with a date, and I'm sure you would have told us by now.
Yeah. Thank you. Other business, anyone else?
Mayor, just quickly, I'll be meeting with Paul on Thursday just to wrap up some final planning on the Commissioner's Walk proposal that will be presented to the board at the next work session on the 8th of February, with the intent to present it with the idea that if we can get approval based on what the board likes and sees, to include any final adjustments, that we'll put that into the town machine to work between then and June 14th, which is when I would like to have the dedication. That's a Monday right before the work session, just to kind of frame the project as a whole. We've got a lot of folks working hard. I do want to appreciate Commissioner Bowles' efforts to put together a very professional engineering drawing that makes it very clear on for whoever lays the brick and sets that up, that we'll be doing it very correctly and right. And I do appreciate that. So more to follow. Looking forward to seeing what the board says and if we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you, for the efforts you put into it so far. This is something we're going to look forward to, and it'll certainly be well received. So that's you're going to try to have that before or before the next meeting, some plans. You're going to try to show us some plans.
I will show the plans at the meeting,
Okay.
which also will feed the numbers based on those plans that we think it will cost, with a small contingency just for good measure. I don't think it'll be too far off the numbers that were presented back on the 9 November work session. But we are looking at both configurations of the brick. And then I'll solidify with Regina the final number of commissioners that we want to push forward in that original dedication. And we'll put that out there and then drive on. Look forward to Paul and the team working with us to make this a reality.
Sounds good. Thank you. One other thing that I would bring up in other business, the end of the month, I think this is right, Paul, the lights downtown come down. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That was the original plan. I haven't heard anything differently. You know, maybe the contractor forgets. We'll get a few more weeks, but we'll see how that goes.
If he gets tied up somewhere else, we still have lights. The comments, of course, now it's been over a month with the lights down there, but the comments have always been so positive. I've had more people talk about how nice downtown Aberdeen looked during the holidays. I think we were the most festive town. I know we were in Moore County. A lot of great comments about it. And so this board is going to have to decide come budget season. Do we do this again, or is this a one-time deal? You know how we got the money for it this time. We won't have that same amount of money going forward in next year towards the holidays. But as far as I know, it was a positive impression for the town of Aberdeen.
Mm. Well, I'd like to say that, you know, on several occasions, and Elise will vouch for this, that we talked about trying to improve downtown during Christmas, you know, when some things that we had wanted. So we were really pleased with that. I know if we could find a way to put it into even the ABC budget or portion of it, we'd love to keep it.
Sure. Paul and I have talked about it. I think some of you, we've talked before. If we get to next Christmas and we don't put those lights up, what are we going to say to people?
Yeah,
you know, we've already done
they're
it.
spoiled now.
Yeah. I think we pretty much spoiled everyone. So
I think it's been a wonderful thing. I've had many people call me at work to tell me how good Aberdeen was looking, wanting to know what we did, how we came about it.
I agree. I agree. Well, that's something we'll have to discuss in the budget season. So think about it. All right. Anyone else? Commissioner Laney, I think you're up.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
It's Elise Goodwin, and I second it.
All right. There's a motion and a second. All in favor to go down the list.
Elise Goodwin, Commissioner. Yes.
Wilma Laney votes aye.
Commissioner Bowles, aye.
Commissioner Beavers, aye.
Joe Danley, aye.
Good night.
Hey, I'm the only yes. Everybody else is aye.
Good night.